I never thought I'd be able to eat 1,700 calories and lose weight. My name's Nicole Yee, holistic nutritionist and nutrition coach, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I got my body to finally lose weight eating more calories than I ever had in the past. To give you a little context, back in the day, I used to compete in bodybuilding shows. I was very, very lean. I also didn't know at the time that you were supposed to reverse diet out of it because this was a long time ago. This was over 10 years ago when I first started competing. I first fell in love with the gym back in 2010, and then in 2013 I started preparing for my first bodybuilding competition. I think I stepped on stage either that year or in 2014. I can't quite remember the dates exactly, and I ended up doing multiple shows back to back for years, and that completely destroyed my metabolism. And this is kind of the same thing, the same type of concept of what happens with women who are constantly dieting. They go from one diet to the next. Just because you didn't achieve those really lean results doesn't mean that you were never on a diet, and doesn't mean that you didn't ruin your metabolism. And if that's you and you have ruined your metabolism, or you suspect you have, then I'll give you a few key points of how you can really determine whether or not you have destroyed your metabolism or not. The first sign that you can look for is whether you are going into a calorie deficit and your body's just not responding to it. And if it's not responding to it, meaning you have been in this calorie deficit for at least 3 weeks and nothing has changed, then that means that you're not truly in a calorie deficit. And so sometimes what happens is we go online, we go to these calculators, and it tells you exactly how much you need to eat in order to be in a calorie deficit. But what it doesn't factor in is whether or not you have metabolically adapted to the calories that you have been eating. So if you are a chronic dieter, meaning that you're constantly eating really low calories, that means that your body will become efficient with using less calories. So although the calculator says this is how much you need to be eating in order to lose weight, and you're not doing it, it obviously is not the case for you because your body has adapted. And so stick around to the end of this video, and I'm going to give you some tips on what you can do so that you can reverse yourself out of that and fix your metabolism once and for all. The second indication of a slow metabolism is that when you are eating a normal amount of food, meaning if you were to go again to a calorie calculator and it's supposed to tell you what your maintenance calories are, and you find that you're gaining weight eating that, then that means that your metabolism is slow. It also means that whatever your maintenance is not actually what the calculator says. So it's really going to be whatever you're eating in a week. So you can easily track your maintenance calories just by tracking your food for an entire week and then dividing that number by 7, and that's going to give you your maintenance. So that is the amount of calories that you need to eat in order to maintain your weight. So another indicator of a slow metabolism is when your energy levels are just plain crap. They're not good. And that could be indicative of eating such low calories that your body just does not have enough energy. And the thought of eating any more than that is fearful because you are so worried that if you eat any more food, you're going to, well, blow up like a balloon. And honestly, that's not the case. That's not what happens. So the same way that your body can slow down to meet that new energy demand, so because you're not eating enough calories, it can become efficient eating less. So that's metabolic adaptation. And it works the same way too when you're eating more calories. It can upregulate to meet you there and say, okay, well, now I'm getting enough food, so that means I can start working more optimally, which means you might have better energy, you might have better sleep, you might have overall like a better, sense of well-being because you're eating enough food. And that is like the one piece that you really want to focus on when you start trying to fix your metabolism, is getting back to that place where your body can function optimally. Another sign of a slow metabolism is that when you go into a calorie deficit, you are also exercising, and despite all of your efforts, literally nothing is changing. And so that is another indicator that your metabolism is not working properly because it's not ready to let anything go. And if you've ever heard of that whole mechanism, it's basically when your body is in survival mode, and so it's trying to conserve the energy that it has. So maybe you're in too deep of a calorie deficit and it's just not ready. Like it doesn't want to budge no matter what you do. You could be doing all of the right things and it's just like, nope, we're not doing that today. So if you try this out for at least 3 weeks and you don't see any changes, that is your sign. So on my personal journey with this, when I was a bodybuilding competitor back in the day, I would start off my calorie deficits and contest preps eating about 1,200 calories at around 800 calories or just below it. I was doing 90 minutes of cardio a day and I was working out 6 days a week. And honestly, it was just not a good time. And so obviously that led to a really terrible relationship with food, but also a really poorly working metabolism. And it took me years to get to a point where I could rebuild it back. And so if you're new here, then last year was the year that I spent my entire year fixing my hormones, fixing my health, and really just being in a surplus. And while I was in my surplus, I did gain weight. So I do have some to lose. And at the beginning of this year, I started going on my own weight loss journey. And as a nutrition coach, I decided to apply the same principles to my clients, to apply it to myself and really just follow, the stuff that I preach. And so since doing that, I've lost about 10 pounds now in the past 11 weeks. I'm just going on to week 12 and I am now eating about 1,700 calories. When I first started off my calorie deficit, I was eating about 1,900 calories. And so this week is going to be a little bit different because I am eating less food, but this is also still much higher than I've ever eaten in the past. And that was all thanks to fixing my metabolism, taking the time to do that, because when you start focusing on rebuilding your metabolism, when you go through a diet, it's not wasted energy and wasted time. It actually works because your body's responding well to it. And that's the difference between going through that phase and spending time focusing on the metabolism instead of just another diet. And right now there's about 13 weeks left until summer. And so I am planning to lose another 10 pounds by then. So we shall see how that goes. Right now I'm losing weight at a rate of 0.8 pounds per week. And so hopefully with this additional push, another little chunk cut off of my calorie deficit, that it pushes me a little bit further. So I'm very excited to see what happens. And then my plan going through summer is really to go through a reverse diet again and start increasing my calories so that I can enjoy summer. There's lots of weddings, lots of celebrations. And even though I still have all of that stuff going on right now, having this amount of food, like being able to eat this high of calories while being in a calorie deficit, has been a tremendously easy experience. And I say that because I have not been deprived of social events or being able to go out and eat the foods that I want because I have the flexibility in there. So if you haven't seen some of my past videos, I would highly recommend you do that. There's one where I talk about eating dessert every single day. And honestly, that is the piece that really keeps your sanity. So now let's talk about some things that you can do so that you can speed up your metabolism. The first place that I would start would be to look at a reverse diet. I do have some videos on that. I highly recommend you check them out. Another thing that I would say is that when you're going through your reverse diet, you want to make sure that you're calculating your maintenance calories right now based on how much you're actually eating. So don't go to a calorie calculator to get them to figure out how much you should be eating. Really track your food for 1 week. Don't change anything and see how much you're eating. It might surprise you. Maybe you might find that you are actually not in a calorie deficit at all and that you're eating so much more than you thought, or that you're eating way under than what you should be eating. Either way, this will give you a really good starting point so that you can figure out exactly where to start. And then from there, start increasing your calories by 50 to 100 calories per week. And you'll just find you might have some body recomposition changes, meaning you might be able to put on more muscle. Your measurements might come down. I do find that with a lot of clients is that their measurements and their weight actually starts coming down when we start increasing their food because, like I mentioned, it starts to upregulate the metabolism. So they find that they're hungry more often. And these are really good signs that whatever you're doing is working. So if you're interested in coaching by me, you can go and click on the link below for a consult. I also have a free cheat sheet that you can download. And this is so that you can learn how to live life and lose weight at the same time. See you next time.